Okay, again, welcome everybody. It is September 30th, 2025. Calling the meeting to order. We have Kevin O'Neill, Bob Kimball, Roger Marciam, myself, and Town Manager Mark Gould. Alan, would you like to call the meeting to order?
Yes, good evening, everybody. I would like to call the Tuesday, September 30th meeting of the Norton Planning Board to order. We have 5 members in person: Steve Warshall, Rob Welch, myself, Tim Griffin, Bridget Carr.
Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so this meeting is accessible through Zoom and in person. So Alan, if you would like, our agenda item is the joint meeting for discussion of your articles you're presenting on the warrant for town meeting this upcoming October 20th. If you want to kick it off, please, sir.
Thank you, sir. Our goal for tonight, and the way we wanted to approach this, was kind of like a dry run, how we would present this at town meeting. Give us a chance to work out any bugs, anything we want to change, and also give more members or more people a chance to give us some input, since we've had very little input from anyone in the town. That maybe 2 or 3 people at most of our meetings total, maybe 1 on Zoom. Very little comments for us. It's coming from the public. So for us, being able to hear the public's opinion helps us. 7 of us, well, we're down to 6 members right now, talking over the same material for a couple of years in a row without other people's inputs gets a little monotonous. The more people we hear from the public, the more information we have to digest. It helps us a lot to know in what direction we want to go. That being said, I just want to touch about town meeting. We're going to do things, our goal is to do things slightly different as far as the format for a town meeting. What we'd like to do for our board, since this is a fairly lengthy and hard article to get through, is we're going to ideally have our whole planning board on stage set up. We're going to try to handle it exactly like we would our typical public meetings. Have our board on stage, we'll be able to have our computers, all of our information in front of us, so we can more easily react and talk through questions, comments, concerns. And if one of our board members is, say, just sitting in the audience and has a point to make, it's very hard to wait in line and make comments that way. So I've worked this out with the moderator. He's pretty on board with it, thinks it's a good idea. And that's what we're going to attempt. At town meeting, we're going to have hopefully the old bylaw on one side of the screen and then the new bylaw next to it, so we can easily, hopefully, reference back and forth, figuring out what's changed, what hasn't changed. What we do have tonight, we have a few summaries that Paul has prepared. We have an executive summary, a 2-pager that boils down most of the changes, and we have another summary that is just residential changes. There's also a document that is a comparison of the 2 bylaws. It's a short 2-page document. It shows a high-level overview without having to go through the whole document. It'll show the actual substantive changes to each section that we're going through. Paul, did you want to pull up either the executive summary or the residential summary? Sure.
The overall first.
Sounds good. So this is the 2-page executive summary that's available on our website. All this information is available on the planning board website. There is a link to all the different red line versions that we've gone through. There is a link to these 3 documents that we have. We also have a short 10-minute PowerPoint presentation. And also Paul has been keeping up on our website with the Zoom links to the meetings where we've talked about all this with timestamps, so you can easily fast forward through the rest of our agenda items and get right to where we've talked about all these. Other than that, we haven't figured out any other way to make this more digestible to the public. So if you're going through this first document at a high level, it's basically what stayed the same These districts, all the zoning districts remain unchanged in their boundaries. We're not changing any of the zoning. The dimensional standards, lot size, setbacks, height, coverage requirements are carried forward without change. Administration, the roles of the planning board and zoning board of appeals and building inspector are consistent. Most permitted, special permit, and prohibited uses remain the same. What we did was reorganize the entire bylaw. As you can see, it's separated now into sections, and it goes through in an order that makes more sense than we had before. It has a generally better flow to it as you're looking as a developer, as a town employee. However you're looking at this bylaw, it gives a better flow to how you're looking through the information. In the very last section, which is arguably one of the most important sections, is the definitions at the very end. Right now, scattered through our entire bylaw are definitions of different things. Having this definition section at the end allows people to easily understand what word or what a phrase means that we were talking about or that the bylaw is referring to. What was substantially changed in this bylaw under uses, we have new uses added to address gaps where we haven't had specific uses before. There's been many times I was on the zoning board for a period of time before I was on the planning board where we'd have to creatively find places to put businesses in. We didn't actually have uses and didn't have places where a person could apply for a business. We have to add these as new businesses, and as different businesses come to town, we actually need these uses in our bylaw. And we've addressed this by adding several different uses. Some of them, for example, are senior housing, recreational vehicle, temporary. We've restricted multifamily residential to no more than 4 units in R40. That's a slightly big change. Currently, there is no density restriction for the R40 zone. We revised locational standards to meet case law and added site development standards for adult uses. There's a couple changes to the adult use section, which was required by state law and or advised us by council that we should change to become more compatible with state law. This bylaw will create a review process for Dover Amendment uses and reasonable accommodations. Dover Amendment uses are basically as-of-right uses. If a church or a school, etc., applies to us, we have very limited leeway of what we can ask for these applicants and uses. It's basically granted an as-of-right use. This new bylaw will also allow for multiple buildings for top-of-the-shop and mixed-use developments within the commercial zoning districts. For the residential uses, 10,000 square foot lots with 75-foot frontage under common ownership to have up to an additional 1,850 single-family houses, 1,850 square feet for single-family houses, and this is a Mass General Law requirement. It expands the ability to build accessory dwelling units, which is also a Massachusetts state law requirement. It increases the expansion of a non-conformity for single-family and two-family houses from 25% to 50%. This is something that the zoning board sees multiple times every one of their meetings. It eliminates the provision for 6 or more created lots that triggers a 10% affordable units, which removes R60 and R80 zoning districts from the density bonus. Some performance standards and special permit conditions. We've added noise standards and fiscal development standards, which we currently don't have. Currently, we have no zoning bylaw currently for noise violations and noise problems. Currently, if you have a noise complaint or concern, you have to go to the state DEP. What this bylaw will allow you to do is file with the Department of Health, and they will be able to address a noise complaint. Also, we have special permit criteria. We have several criteria that this board is allowed to judge a project on and consider a project. We cannot just turn down a project and vote no on a project just because we don't like it. We have to satisfy certain criteria and reference certain criteria in our decisions. What this does give us is an added fiscal condition. we can consider fiscal impacts to the town and neighbors. We do not have that option right now. We also revised design guidelines into enforceable standards in the village commercial zone. We've established special permit criteria, including fiscal and traffic impacts, and added conditions to be placed on development. Some of the benefits of this bylaw update gives us a little bit more autonomy, a lot more clarity, some consistency, and brings us up to current state and federal guidelines. Scroll down a little more. Thank you. And then that's the end of this high-level summary. Paul, do you want to just go to the residential one quickly? Sure. Our idea was to have, if someone is just purely concerned about residential, purely concerned how this bylaw is going to affect your house and your property you own as a resident. So there's a quick 2-page description of what has changed in the residential sections. So overall, what stayed the same? All zoning districts remain unchanged in the boundaries and general purposes. Dimensional standards, the lot sizes, setbacks, height, coverage requirements are carried forward to no change. Most permitted special permits, prohibited uses remain the same, including those in the residential districts. How are the residential zones proposed to be changed? This expands our ability to build accessory dwelling units by right, which is a Mass General Law requirement. We'll dive into that a little bit more when we get to that in the bylaw. We went over the 10,000 lot. It increases the expansion of non-conforming single-family, two-family house 25 to 50%. We talked about that. Restricted multifamily residential to more than 4 units in R40. That's in the high level. Eliminated the provision of 6 or more lots trigger for 10% affordable units. We have added some new units, new uses, added locational and site development standards for senior housing, and created a review process for Dover member users. So as you can see, this document, a lot of similar highlights and a high-level summary. Unless anyone has any questions right now, our intention of how we're going to do this at town meeting and how we'll do it tonight is start with page 1 of the bylaw and start scrolling through slowly. I'm not going to read the whole thing, that would take forever. As we're going through, anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, anyone in the public, in the board, how we're going to do it at town meeting is take section 1. Go through section 1, and then whoever has questions about section 1, let's talk about it one section at a time. Try to limit our discussion to one section at a time so we don't get too all over the place. Maybe we can follow what we're talking about.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I think you might have had a question from the audience.
If you want to come up to the podium, state your name and number, name and address for the record.
Name and number?
Name, telephone number, firstborn, whatever you would like to give us.
Hello, my name is Francis Kearns, I live at 42 Maple Street.
How are you?
And I said something about the frontage. What is the current frontage? It's 75-foot frontage water under the common ownership. What is it currently now?
I don't believe we've changed any frontage requirements. It depends, every frontage is different depending on every zone, different frontage requirements.
Okay, I live on Maple, what is that, R1? What is R1?
It'd be R40, R60, or R80 is our residential zone, so I don't have it in front of me what your
All residential zones are 150.
everything 150.
They're 150, yeah.
Right, so that doesn't change, but what the state law said was if you had a lot that's 10,000 square feet, 75 feet of frontage, and it was under common ownership, that lot is now eligible to be built on.
From the common ownership, can you define that, please?
Well, I guess an example would be if you had a series of lots that, say, combined to 10,000,
Okay.
you could, no.
So if you had two smaller lots, that were not, let's say there was a house on one and there was 10,000 square feet next door to you.
Okay.
You also own it. That lot is unbuildable and would have merged together with your home to make one viable lot. With this new law that has come out, you can now unmerge that lot as long as it has the 10,000 square feet, the 75 feet of frontage, and had previously been merged. You can unmerge it and then build up to an 1,850 square foot 3-bedroom home.
Okay, because I have an easement between me and my neighbor, and there's a road, but there isn't, we'll call it, it's on the map. But there's land behind me, so that's my question. Can they use this law too, because they don't have the current amount of width now? With this change, they could.
I mean, to speak in specifics, I would have to see a map and see everything in front of us, but
Okay.
it is possible. Like I said, without knowing exactly what it is right now, I don't want to speak out of school here.
Alrighty.
I could be wrong, but isn't state law making this change anyways, regardless if we put it in or not?
Yes, this has already been made. We're just adding it to our bylaw so it mirrors state law. Whether we do this or not,
Okay.
this already exists.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Sure, 1 second, Bob. I was wrong, I didn't introduce, we do have our building inspector, Mr. Bailey, with us right to my left, and also our town planner, Mr. DiGiuseppe. And this first question is exactly why I want to set this up just like this at town meeting. Instantly, very easily, Mr. Bailey can chime in. It's his job to interpret, and he's in the zoning bylaw every day. He's our zoning enforcement officer. He has ultimately the control of what can and can't be built in town. Every question, every project, everything goes through him. And consequently, every commercial project is going through the Planning and Economic Development Office. So this just proves this first question why I think it's going to be best to set up going forward a town meeting like this, having a more easier discussion, answering questions quicker, and hopefully getting out of there quicker. Ms. Bob? Sorry.
It's okay.
If I can spit that out, I forgot.
No, I totally understand how it works. To the, Mr. Bailey, let's say I own two 4,000 square foot lots in the Grove, and they're adjacent to each other. I know prior to zoning, these are pre-existing lots. So I'm just throwing this out there, just to get clarity on this, because I can tell you the town owns a number of parcels in the Grove that have been taken 100 years ago for tax foreclosure. So if I say to the town, we're gonna take two 3,000 square foot lots and two 4,000 square foot lots, we're gonna combine them as one, does that become a buildable house when it has the frontage? Will it become buildable?
To my knowledge, you wouldn't be able to unless they had already been merged. You can't take these lots and create a 10,000 square foot. They would have had to have been merged at the time the zoning essentially invalidated them.
Thank you.
So Paul, if you want to just slowly scroll through the bylaw, and feel free, everyone, planning board, select board, audience members, if you have any questions, jump right up to the microphone and we'll stop scrolling. Brian has a question.
Someone read the Q&A, I don't know what that is.
So we have a question that generally we don't take questions in the chat, we're not allowed to, but if, I'm not sure how Alec, your board handles it, if we want to look at chat questions.
I would think if we get through what we need to get through, we can open up at the end of
Scroll
what we need to get through, and maybe give people that have some questions a chance to ask a question. Am I interpreting what you mean by chat the right way?
Yes, we do have, in our meetings, we do have people that put in long questions in our chat, and it's our policy. We don't read questions into the record and answer questions on the chat. We want someone on Zoom talking to us.
I default to your recommendation.
Paul, if you want to keep scrolling, we can. And Paul, please, hit any HUD button change, we're going to probably stop at the use table when we get to it. Would be probably good.
So, Mr. Chair, the red line, could you just slow down on those, just so we can see what's being removed? Is this the final document being proposed to town meeting?
Right now, this is the final document, subject to what we choose tonight. It's most likely our plan, it is our plan. We're on a time limit, so the planning board needs to vote on this tonight.
do a little executive summary of these paragraphs and purpose.
And just to comment, not everything red line is totally gone. A lot of this is reorganization and moving, especially with definitions. I don't know if we want to go through the presentation as well before we do this, or your meeting.
We can, I thought we'd get right into this. I thought would be the quickest and best use of our time for now.
Mr. Chair, maybe just mention that either it's being moved, relocated, or being struck for what the reason is, without reading the whole paragraph, if that makes sense.
Paul, I'm gonna have to tag you in as we go in.
One thing I do
Yes.
is that this is, and talking to town council, this is going to be a strike and replace. We've at the, trying to show what has been changing. This is not a one-for-one change. You can see as we went through the presentation, entire chapters moved. And so we're going to ask for a strike and replace, completely prior, the current bylaw replace with this. It's not like, usually we just go in and have, a section we look at and make amendments to. This is a much bigger, it's broader changes than that.
So this section's been struck, this is been moved to a different section.
And I would just say, maybe as an alternative to what Mr. O'Neill's asking, we do have a spreadsheet. My concern is with all the strike changes, we might be able to use the spreadsheet for each section.
Start with the spreadsheet before we, again, this is why we're doing this tonight, we're working it out here and not at town meeting.
Mr. Chair, as a general resident, I'm guessing that there are going to be some people at the town meeting that are going to be suspect and looking for things that are stricken that potentially protected them in the past that are being removed in their mind. So that's why I asked that question. Any others that being stricken? Why are they being stricken? Do they never belong there? Is it something that the town is trying to pull over on them by removing it? It was in the bylaws before. So just trying to build a level of trust. That's why I asked that.
Thank you. So this is our comparison chart for the changes. Can we get that any bigger, or is it this where? Somebody in the audience have a question?
I'm just wondering, is this the final proposal as you see it right here? Is this going to be available the night of the vote, the town meeting?
It's available right now. It's
So what it was and what is voted on tonight, that's going to be available at town meeting?
correct.
I'm just, okay,
It's available right now.
okay.
It's all on our website right now. Yes, it'll be available on at town
And
meeting.
there'll be handouts for everyone,
We
like we usually do.
finalize what.
Once it's finalized, that's
That's
just,
just not, the whole bylaw isn't gonna be handed out, it's
just the changes.
100 and something pages, but.
Yeah, just the changes, that's all.
Correct, the first two documents that we went through, and then this, the comparison,
Okay, yeah,
two-page comparison.
just asking, thank you.
So the section one, the two biggest changes, grouped Article 1, purpose and scope, and Article 12, zoning amendments and minor changes for compliance with Mass General Law and clarity. I should bring up too, it is our goal, and I don't think we have an exact answer, if we're gonna have Mr. Bobrowski, the author of this new bylaw, at town meeting with us. We're working on it. He's a much better presenter of bylaw than I am, since he has done it many, many times at town meetings. So for Article 1, you can see Section 1 changes. Paul, do you want to finish scrolling, jump back and finish scrolling through the red line?
Sure. section 1. And this is all administrative components dealing with zoning map amendments and issues like that.
Mr. Chairman, question.
This one,
The sections that are underlined, does that mean anything?
underlined Paul is added.
Added, yes.
Section 2, districts. These are our districts that we have in town, R80, R60, R40 is our residential, village commercial, village center core, commercial, and industrial. And we're adding in, what we passed at the last town meeting, our multifamily mixed-use overlay district.
This is section 3, the use regulations, is where we probably really see the big chunk of proposed changes, and this is where we've had a lot of debate on the use table. But a lot of it still remained the same, that this is where we've had primarily added uses. This is important because where we have uses, we can regulate them. But legally, if there's a proposal comes to us and that's not a use that's in the use table, we are not allowed to let it go unless we, can make a connection to an existing use. But this greatly expands these uses.
I just want to comment for the change to the multifamily there. What this has done is, I think, is put additional restrictions on multifamily in residential zones. The feeling of the board was we just created an overlay district with multifamily allowed by right. So it made sense to turn the dial down in other parts of town. So that is a specific change that the board put forward.
Mr. Chair, so what Mr. Griffin just explained is perfect. If somebody can narrate as you scroll through this at town meeting, just like he just did on every red line removal or underlined addition, just like when you're buying a car and then finance guy goes through and says this one's for this, is this, it's similar.
There will be too many red lines to do all of those.
Okay. A lot of people won't be able to see this either from the auditorium, even though it's on the screen.
That's the big one that I think some of the other ones are, like Paul said, are adding uses that we didn't have before.
Number 10, Mr. Bailey, you want to go through that one? It's something you've seen a couple times. That was specifically your recommendation, correct?
Yes. So we've added the use for a recreational vehicle, your kids, neighbors, friends, etc., driving around, seeing the country, they want to come visit. Everyone seems to park an RV in their yard. People live there. There is no actual allowance to allow this. There are septic issues, health issues, etc. that go along with this. So what we did is we opened this up so that you could have someone come and stay with you for the summer by the lake. You could have someone come and stay for a period of time set by the planning board as the special permit allows. Technically right now, we see an RV park that someone's living in. Our bylaw does not speak to it. We're supposed to have it removed and That's the end of it. So this allows a little bit more freedom with some regulation behind it to make sure we know where and what it is, and more importantly, how it's being leased, is being disposed of.
And for presentation wise, something like this, it'd be better for us to click right to the definition. But I'm not sure how easy that's gonna be a town meeting to do, and how many times you can see how long it takes to click back and forth in between documents. We're gonna be spending a ton of time clicking between the documents. So there will be, when we get to the definition section, we'll go through, you will see a definition of recreation vehicle. You'll see a definition of everything in the mobile home park. The goal is, if it's mentioned in the bylaw, it has to be defined somehow.
That was not the case before.
Correct. Paul, do you want to speak to us adding the senior housing facility?
Sure. So as Mark Bobrowski, when he was working with us, pointed out that we actually didn't have a use called senior housing facility. We had it as housing for the elderly. So in addition to the use table, Mark helped draft up a section 8.3 that identifies locational requirements and other criteria to help us identify when a project comes along for housing for the for senior housing, which we define as 55 and over, with independent living. It helped separate the 55 and over people who live in independent housing from senior housing facility, which are seniors but needing some level of medical care. So that the senior housing facility is actually the section in which we have the provisions that help regulate the siting of those facilities. But we didn't have it spelled out. We just had housing for the elderly in the use table, but no other conditions, provisions at all. So this is good. This helps us determine appropriate locations and criteria that we should be looking for when we get a proposal.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have a question on the last strike out there on the mobile home temporary. So if my house burns down and I want to put a temporary unit on my property when I rebuild, is that now not allow me to do so?
Special permit.
There's another line, number 7, which replaces temporary with mobile home. So now we can permit it temporary or longer.
All right, thank you.
Now another big change overall was we went from a very small number of groupings of uses to a larger grouping to try to get similar uses together. We had, like, for example, under residential currently, that also includes hotels and bed and breakfasts, and so that's been better categorized, better groupings, and we now have a new grouping called community facilities. You can see the list of some of these are those Dover Amendment types of uses. Many of these are, Any questions on B?
I wanted to bring up with the group the removal of serving residents of Norton from the Plaza Lodge, and see how the rest of the group feels about that.
Number 10.
Number 10, for private Plaza Lodge or fraternity or nonprofit civic use. In our document currently, it says serving residents of Norton. I don't know why we're striking through necessarily.
From my side of things, it's essentially unenforceable. You know, if they've got the Elks Club, somebody gonna stand there and check IDs to make sure it's only residents of Norton coming through? Yeah. Then I nominate you.
Anything else on B?
Just one more issue on that, serving residents of Norton. There are some of these fraternal lodges and fraternal organizations who have members who are from out of town, but they also are taking part of activities in town.
So move into item C, I do need to point out a mistake I made. I got a handout that I given everybody. It was a glitch on number 6 and 7, dealing with farms, livestock. What I did was I accidentally put I associated the uses with the wrong category, so the change corrects that. And then we've also, Steve helped out on this, we've organized it. You see on that page, it's the order of this is a bit more logical than what we had on the version that was printed out. So, but these are dealing with agricultural uses and open space, but this is primarily agricultural uses.
One question is, if you're, regarding 6 and 7, on your handout, you note in the comments, delete 6 and 7 and replace with 8. Is that what's going to be presented to the town?
That has to be discussed at this moment. I think we're going forward without changing anything, but as it's written right now, farms, livestock, number 7, 5 farms, livestock, excluding swine on 5 or more acres. If you have 5 acres, you're permitted by mass law is by right use. You don't have a special permit. You can't say no in any zone. So we at least have to change that no. Or we could just replace 6 and 7 with number 8, and that follows the whole thing.
Technically through mass law, if you have 2 acres, you can have a farm.
Sure. That's what that
There's income requirements for the 2 acres.
It's 5 acres or 2 qualified acres, and it's so much in revenue, I think, Steve. I think it
It's 2
qualifies.
acres, yeah, it's like $1,000 per year.
Yeah, I like the over 5 acres. I know that's a different topic, but I do like the way it's managed on the handout. I like, as far as under 5 acres goes, and under 2 acres of qualified space, I like deleting 6 and 7 and replacing with 8, but I understand that maybe you just can't delete 6 and 7 because you still have to address properties more than 5 acres. Sounds like
5 or more acres is covered by mass law, and there's a little, I don't know what you call it, a blurb, a comment at the bottom that describes that exact thing, agricultural uses, meeting the requirements, etc.
I think, Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The difference if we went with number 8 versus the spelling out and the other ones is that we're basically taking whatever mass general law allows under this type of use. So any kind of exclusions that we had before, I'll call out swine, nothing against pigs. We had excluded them on those areas. If we're just taking the mass definition, mass will allow a whole bunch of stuff. So
I think mass law also better describes what a farm is. It has to be managed by an actual farmer. For development of produce, selling it, rather than just the homeowner who wants to have goats and sheep and horses and like the one.
Over 5 acres, they don't have a lot of regulations. They assume that if you're over 5 acres, you're not a gentleman's farm, you're pretty serious about it. The 2 acre farm is the one where they have more regulations and kind of prove it that you're not just a homeowner.
And that's what I'm sensitive to.
Yeah.
If you have 5 acres or more,
Yeah.
go at it. Right? If you look at the zoning here, we have the zoning map. What we have in the town of Norton is something, I don't know if it's atypical, but it's problematic. I know we're not addressing it with this change. But most of the homes that are in R80 are far less than 2 acres. So that's what I'm concerned about for the general public, is if you're in R80, this chart really doesn't mean a whole lot. It's really the acreage that you have. So we can't resolve the zoning in one fell swoop. That's impossible. But the entire eastern part of 495
plus a lot of spillover around the LG North School. And of course, when you go down south of East and West Washington, probably half of our town is zoned R80. And the vast majority of that are homes that are probably certainly less than 2 acres, and many of them less than, they're about a half an acre. Think about Newland and Newcomb Street and all of the Cave Street neighborhoods and all of the other, James Street, you look over the Winnicott area, all those homes around the lake. Those are all R80, but they're a fraction of an acre. So that's what I'm hoping that the board will resolve in this proposal and these changes this time around for town meeting.
Would to resolve that, would you want a greater restriction? Because right now, R80, no matter the size of your lot, you have an agricultural by right use. You can just do that.
Yeah, and so that's why I like 8. I like the less than 2 qualified acres. The problem with it right now is 8 and 6 contradict each other. Because 6 says you can have farms, livestock, horses. I'm fine with rabbits, by the way, and I'm fine with chickens. It's when you get into the other livestock. You can have horses, goats, sheep on less than 5 acres, according to number 6.
Right.
Number
Number 8 says the same thing, but more. But
And 8
essentially-
is more restrictive because you have, it says less than 2 qualified acres, which I assume, I don't know what qualified acres is, maybe it's uplands, dry land or whatever, but it's qualified.
It's based on how much money they make.
Based on its weight.
That would be proving that they are an exempted farm under mass law, so that they're selling more than $1,000 worth of produce or items from the farm.
So again, general residents, like everybody who lives on the K streets, you know what I'm talking about. They're all half-acre lots or smaller.
They could all have a bunch of horses and cows and everything.
That's my problem.
They still would under this.
Under our current and going forward.
So have you talked about resolving that, fixing that conflict, that issue? Because I would assume, there are probably 2,000 homes that I'm talking about that are R80 that are less than, about half an acre.
That would take a change to our permitting. We could, you could replace it with a special permit instead of by right use. But now you're arguing to take away people's right to farm. And actually, that's where most of our horses are located, are in the area
Less than 2 acres?
right now. On any property there.
I'm only
It was a
referring
farming
to,
district.
I'd like to hear what the rest of the.
So this is a prime example of something we've been talking about, of an issue that we've talked about, but Steve has brought it up, we've talked about it at, how many meetings, Steve, have we had this exact conversation? Many. This is where we've ended up, and it's our intention, this is on one of the items on our list. If this goes through at this town meeting, we're already starting the list for the next town meeting. There's multiple uses, multiple things in this that we think need more time, need more talk, need more study, need maybe a subcommittee, need more hearings. We could spend the next hour or two just talking about that one item.
I listened to your meeting, it was about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you didn't land on it. But I like what Paul has proposed on his sheet though. Like, did you guys take a vote on that?
That's what I suggested. The farming
I'm
agriculture.
not sure which one.
Deleting 6 and 7, replacing with 8. So then you defer to the state law, and you define 2 qualified acres. So if it's not 2 qualified acres, then it's not by right for RE, regardless.
No, it says for properties that are under 5 acres or less than 2 qualified acres. In the R80, any property would still qualify.
Even if it was less than 2 qualified acres?
Yes. It's just following what is currently allowed.
I think in a lot of these cases, our default answer, as we've gone through this, if we reach that point where we talk about this more, is leave it as it was.
That's why, leave it as it is. That's why, so we don't have an argument. We can address just the agricultural section alone in the future. take a vote on it where we don't have to convince the town of the rest of the bylaw, or we should just attack the changes that we might want to make in separate articles going forward.
I think this is the one of the specific ones that affects a lot of residents in town. This we thought was could be really more of a hot button issue. So it was best, I don't want to use the term kick it down the road, but I think
term, that's what you're doing.
kick it down the road, we need more time on it. There's a few other things we need more time on. We might need more mass state law incorporation into it. That being said, we should be changing this document more often than we are. There's a lot of things that we could change right now and not like with this discussion, and then after town meeting, realize it's a mistake. That's where we were on several things the last couple of meetings. We kind of took to heart, well, how much should we be changing here? We already are changing a lot of things, several substantive changes. We did feel leaving these sections as they were is where we ended up for now.
I understand, I certainly don't want to derail your
Not that we could spend the next hour on Brewster's.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion to changing roosters to chickens, or changing poultry just to chickens as?
No, there's a separate one where it says no roosters and.
Right,
Yeah,
but then it's,
that was
it's contradicted 3 times afterwards, you know, I don't know that horses seem to be the problem, but
Well,
roosters
can that, to
do.
his point, can that item be resolved so there's no, like, I know on your leading slide here, you wanted to resolve contradictions and conflicts. This is clearly a contradiction, the way it's in the chart right now. Is that something you can address between now and the town meeting? Is,
We'd have to address it right now, vote on the change right now, come up with the language right now.
you're not meeting again?
We have to, well,
the language.
correct me if I'm wrong, the language is due like right tomorrow, the next day?
Yeah, we have to turn this
We're very tight.
the final language. But I should point out, town council still, they're reviewing what they don't expect to be.
It's best at this point to move on from that. Leave it as is. Best to move on.
We're not sure if that's the right thing to do, we should do nothing.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman, I would add to that my many years of going to town meeting, people don't like changes. If what you put up on the board is different than what you're saying, then automatically there's a lot of questions, there's some suspicions and questions. The way you have the document now is out in the public, I would leave it alone, make your changes like you're suggesting later on, but don't kind of leave it the way it is, especially if people have already gone on the website, already downloaded, looking at it, and then suddenly we start making some changes and then we become suspicious of us.
Changes at the last minute, you're saying.
Exactly,
Yes.
leave it alone.
And we've already talked about it, we fully intend, we have several things on the list, most likely for spring we want to bring back up. But it'll give us more of a chance. This takes a lot of time out of our meetings. We have it on an agenda item every meeting, we're talking about it every meeting. If we only have 5 or 6 little issues we have to hash through, that's not really a heavy lift. And it's much easier in a discussion. Maybe just talking about roosters and livestock will bring out more people that it affects.
I agree, I agree with our chairman as well. We don't want to do anything that's going to affect these edits.
And I'm fine with if there's something that we come through that is really, we messed up on this and we vote to change it right now, we're absolutely going to do that.
The fact that it takes, that you spend a lot of time talking about a particular issue, tells me that it's an issue.
It's an issue.
So at some point, you guys have to address it.
100%.
Put the time into it, do it right. If that's for the next Maytown meeting, that's good. Our new building commissioner probably spends much more time than you do in meetings with the general public responding to the conflicts in the bylaws.
Correct, and as you can see, he's a big help answering questions, and he's got a very firm grasp on the hot button issues. He's a big help.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's more in keeping with what you said earlier about the one step to make the system out.
Yes.
Because that's how we got in this situation, we've got to do so much at once.
So just to clarify, Paul, number 8 is going to be removed. The farming act, number 8. That's what I'm saying, I guess as a group, we're
The
all.
position is to leave it as it was.
I do like the The noise, additional language though, we call it.
Noise bylaws.
Performance, that might be with this particular item for some town.
Paul's just making his notes and then we'll start
Yeah, I
swearing.
have to remove this also from the clear version.
And this is where it's not an easy task to keep up with all the different versions and documents. We've had a few times, Steve's caught a few, Paul's caught a few. We're making changes during the meeting, we're talking about things moving on. None of us are perfect, we're very far from perfect. I guarantee there's a mistake or two in here that none of us are gonna catch, and we're gonna catch it after time. But we can go back and fix it.
So, yeah, we move on to recreational uses.
Well, I got two things in this section, just to bring up. Number 2, where we're adding,
Let's go.
whether a fee is charged or not as an addition. We could also just do as a strike through for non-commercial, instead of adding the whether a fee is charged. If a fee is charged, it becomes commercial, right?
Makes sense.
Then you get into is the DCR commercial when they put a parking machine in the lot.
I kind of, well, we have public parks and stuff like that, so like, as opposed to municipal or something like that, it's a public park, but that's, if I wanted to open up a private park, so to say, like my own borderland, how would you do that in our bylaw? It's a municipal, it's public. It's a public recreation facility.
There's another section, municipal uses above.
We can adjust that with another article at the next town meeting when someone applies for that.
I mean, we're
That's
making
an
it,
easy fix.
yeah, we're making an edit there, so it just depends on what type of edit we want to make. That's for number 2. I don't know if anybody else has any input on that, but
I mean, it's really just cleaning up, it's not doing
No
any
change.
substantial change to it.
no, it's just changing the word.
You just save an ink at that point.
Whether a fee is charged or not is what's added, but that's, I mean,
Since the one that's published for moving down there.
yeah, yes. Either way, however everybody feels, it's all good.
If you're not sure how many people have downloaded these bylaws, we can get the web analytics on it.
I guess the idea,
Mr. Chair,
Right by
the idea is,
my question is, if it doesn't make a difference if it's in there or not, why are we trying to change it now?
We're moving on.
Thank you.
the other one is small scale indoor recreation. We have a definition for indoor recreation, and then we have another definition for small scale indoor recreation that defers to indoor recreation, but scaled at 5,000 square feet or under. We don't have a setting for indoor recreation as described, but larger than 5,000 square feet. So my suggestion would be to remove the word small scale and rely on our 10,000 square foot special permitting to control the scale.
What's the definition of small scale that we have?
It refers to just indoor recreation.
So anything over 5,000 square feet, just like under recreation.
But it would, but we don't have that on our uses table. My suggestion is just to scratch off small scale so that it's any size recreation. We also have another special permit for anything that's over 10,000 square feet that exists already.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Please don't take this the wrong way. We are on page 10 of a 174-page document.
Welcome to our life.
Yes,
we should.
My
As you can see,
suggestion would be that we try to hit the high points and the important changes that are being made to this that you feel that are going to be substantive. And if there are changes in the wording of a particular point in here that I think that we maybe want to take that up at a different time.
I am fine with that, and I struggle with moving on in that and hearing everyone out. So Steve could be speaking as a board member now or a resident. I struggle with that line, where to move on, what to take right now, what not to take right now. I'm fine with leaving it as it is. And then add it to the list that we can do in our cleanup draft.
And Mr. Chair, I don't want to be disrespectful because I'm sure the points that are being brought up are important. I'm not sure that this is the meeting that those should be brought up at with the joint board here to try to get to an article to town meeting.
I agree. Paul, if you're good, you want to keep scrolling?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Bruce.
there's a hand raised in the Zoom.
We can,
I just don't know when you want to address that.
we'll go to the Zoom and see if there's anything specific to this section of the bylaw after we get through the rest of this section.
So another use grouping is our office uses. So you can see that the changes that we're proposing there. Again, much more clarification of uses, adding uses. We have commercial, retail, and service uses. You can see here the uses that we've added, including, this is where we added a number of uses that are not in the current bylaw, like trade services or brewery or winery.
And number 6 is in a new section in G below, just
Right, and we've created a new section for vehicle-related uses. So anything auto-related, gas stations, auto repair, that's found here. Common driveways. Section H is marijuana. We didn't make any changes here. You can see with industrial uses, there were some additions, clarification. Section J is what we call general infrastructure utilities. Well, things like digital electronic billboards, electronic message centers, wireless communications. We did not make any changes to these provisions. And accessory uses, this deals a lot with home occupations. It's largely stayed the same. Except where we added all childcare, family childcare. These are new uses. That's the table. Here, user.
If there's any questions, I don't know if you guys control over the Zoom, if we have any questions related to the use table, just like town meeting, probably best to take those questions now before we move on.
Whatever you think.
This is a better idea.
Is that you, Paul, or is that me?
I can't access it with shared screen on.
My thought, Mr. Chair, is address what we just talked about now instead of at the very end jumping back. Can we go back to the use table?
Yep, it's fair enough.
All right, we have a J. Cogliano. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
You have to elect them to unmute, I think.
Ask to unmute.
Or you get to click it. Ask to unmute.
You clicked it?
Joe, you should have the ability to speak now if you'd like, if you can unmute.
Repeatedly clicked ask to unmute and
I think he still needs to press the
There
button.
it is.
we've got something.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you faintly, Joe.
Joe, can you speak again real quick? Hello? Okay, I'm gonna put a microphone here.
Not quite.
All right, let me, Joe, try again, Joe.
Hello?
Is that better?
Yes, Joe.
We can hear you, but just through the computer right now, Joe. So hold on.
Yeah, Joe, we're trying to get your volume up. Can you keep talking, Joe?
Is your question on table 3?
That's better.
Speak up as loud as you can, sir.
Okay, try it now. Mr. Cogliano.
this.
Here we go, that's better.
We can hear you.
is that up there?
We can hear you, Joe.
What you got?
Hello?
We can hear you.
I think I should.
It's not you, Joe, it's something, she's saying.
Let me try calling in.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Wait, I'll fix it. Give me a second.
Exactly.
Let me say in the chat, Joe.
You might have muted it.
We can hear you. Go ahead. Can you hear us?
I don't think you can hear
I
us.
stopped his volume. Or something.
Yeah. You got ours. They were probably thinking it was
Sure, that's
me.
volume, that's for the echo and all that.
Oh, do you have his number by any chance?
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
I guess Joe's
No, no,
calling
no,
you.
no, 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 no.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. You have joined the meeting as an attendee and will be muted throughout the meeting.
Hello? Here we go.
Hi, Joe.
Turn your volume down. We can hear you.
Hello?
Oh,
You're all five of you.
You need to turn your volume down. We can hear you.
I don't know what to do here. Let's see.
I think he's looking at us.
Mute yourself again.
We can hear you.
We're gonna have to, another couple minutes.
In a minute, we'll have to move on.
Where is
We fight this problem
We
constantly.
can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
You can hear me now?
yes.
Okay. First of all, I have a question, and I apologize for interrupting the board's presentation.
Joe, could you just do your name and full address for the record, please, sir?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Could you please just state your name and full address for the record, please?
Joe Cogliano, 202 Bay Road. As I said, I'm sorry for interrupting the presentation. I generally don't like that, I don't like doing that. But I've got a problem, I can't stay for this meeting, and I was wondering if I could just make some statements for a few minutes about what's concerning me about all this. Is that something that would be possible?
Keep it to 3 minutes and we'll be good, sir.
Did you say 3 minutes?
Sounds good.
Okay, well, I'll do the best I can.
You said a few minutes, I said 3.
I'm sorry, who's this?
Alan Boulay, Chairman of the Planning Board.
Alan, I'm gonna need more than 3 minutes, Alan.
How many minutes do you need? 10,
I'm gonna need
15?
more than 3 minutes. I'd appreciate it.
Let's go.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me say that there may be, many good things in what's being proposed here. The key problem that I see is improper notice, and there are some specific issues that need to be addressed, which I'm going to mention a couple. None of this is personal to anybody. As I've said before, I think the planning board means well in what they're doing, but I think the way that they've gone about it is just improper, and it's not in the best interest of the town, the way this is being handled. So, the planning board is attempting a major modification of the zoning bylaw, which significantly impacts the property rights of the people. Unfortunately, the board mischaracterized the purpose of these changes to the town before the last town meeting and after that meeting until there was an open meeting law violation filed in August. The bottom line is that this is not just a recodification, but a major rewrite of the entire bylaw. Now this matters because it's a clear example of improper notice. Now, the board knew in 2023 when there was an application made from a grant from the EOHLC, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, which deals with things like affordable housing and MBTA communities. They knew what this was about. Specifically on the application, it states, Norton will do a comprehensive zoning update. This was for the $60,000 grant, to ensure that all bylaws are consistent with the state's laws and policy goals, and ensure that the town is allowing for a variety of housing options and economic development opportunities which incentivize mixed uses. Now, in the letter to the Attorney General after the complaint was filed, the letter states, this is from KP Law, the board acknowledges that some of the discussions on these sections concern potential proposed substantive amendments to the bylaw and not just recodification, which is commonly understood to be a reorganization of text as opposed to revisions to it. Further, it states, the board submits that it has been discussing both the recodification of and substantive amendments to the zoning bylaw at numerous meetings over the last months. Now, the problem is that, again, nothing personal meant here, but this was an error by the board. This should have been explained to the town before the town meeting, and certainly after the town meeting during the three hearings prior to this issue being raised by a complaint. It's clear that this was not simply a recodification, but a major revision.
Point of order, we're at 3 minutes, Chair.
Joe, you have another minute.
Look, I think the point here is that I'm a resident, and I should be able to speak for a period of time to address some of these issues, because this isn't going to go away. And I tried to address this with the board the other night, and I didn't, really hear that you were listening. So I'm trying again now with the Finance Committee and the Select Board. So please, just listen. I'm trying to be respectful to you. I don't have anything against any of you. And I do believe you are trying to do a good job, and this is a very difficult thing, but you've made a mistake, and you just need to try to correct that. We can work together to do that. It doesn't have to be something that you have to feel bad about. It's just something that we need to do to help the people in the town. Now, the question is, has
If I may,
the notice issue been resolved?
could we
I
stick,
don't think.
could we stick to the topic of the actual red lines of the agenda rather than bringing up old?
We all have your letter. We've all read your letter. Your letter's in the packet. Everyone has access to it.
Well, I think.
We know you think we did it wrong. We know we're completely updating the zoning. We've always said that. We've had 20 meetings. If anyone's listened to any of the meetings, you can tell what
Well,
we're
well,
doing.
no,
We've done-
no. It was presented as a recodification or reorganization.
We're way past that, Joe. This is a
Now,
completely new town meeting.
Hold on a second. The important point here is that
Excuse
you're
me,
dealing
Mr. Chair.
with people's property rights. And because you're dealing with people's
Excuse me,
property
Mr. Chair.
rights,
Yes, sir.
you have to take care in
could we
how
move
that
on to the next
information
item,
is
please?
presented to them so that they're
I don't
aware
have
of
control
the
over
impact that this is going to have on them, which means that you have to do mailed notice.
Mr. Cogliano, we are taking you off Zoom right now, please. Thank you.
Just for the room, I'll summarize Mr. Cogliano's point briefly from his letter in that his position is that with this level of a change, he would like the town to physically mail a copy of the new bylaw and all proposed changes to all residents in town. That's his proposal.
That's not an option. We understand his concerns, but it's not an option.
Moving on to section 3, accessory uses.
So we're adding, I'll just go scroll through this.
Paul, we still have the box in front of the screen there, I'm not sure. No, it's just the audio
That's
conference box in the middle, is that?
Yes, but exit out, I guess.
Yeah, just X out the,
That's not me.
If this computer froze, to do that, I'd have to restart the meeting.
Paul, are you able to take over the,
I'm gonna,
okay.
let me stop share for a second and,
Oh, I see. He's screen sharing, but he's running it, so.
It's way beyond the technical capacity.
I'm just a panelist. No, I guess you could, shift over.
Is it on the conference thing, the panel that you have in front of you? Is there like anything on that?
Nothing on that.
It's working.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's go back.
Okay, so people can see this now. Moving on, we're still in section 3, but now we have provisions here for accessory uses, solid waste facility, which we did not propose any changes to that.
Just a note, we do have another hand raised, maybe when we get through the end of section 3, we can ask if they have comments on the section.
That's section 3.
Let's go to the next section, Paul.
Okay, let me just pull up section 4 on the chart first. So section 4 are dimensional regulations, so that tells us how big, what are the setbacks. So we just literally moved the dimensional regulations section into this, but then we did make a couple of substantive changes in this section that we'll go over, but one is to allow multiple buildings for top of the shop and mixed use development only within the commercial zoning districts where those uses are allowed. And also that provision we talked about earlier about if you're a 10,000 square foot lot with 75 feet of frontage, that's in this section as well. Those were the major changes here, but I'll pull that back up. So you can see this is the table, and it's the table of dimensional regulations, and it is staying the same. The yards, this is just from the definitions, we moved it out of definitions to here because this talks about various types of standards like setbacks and front yard setbacks. We did not touch lot shape, calculating lot shape factor. frontage from whenever that was drawn. Here's that provision about multiple buildings for top of the shop and mixed use development in village commercial and commercial districts.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I may, could I offer a suggestion?
That's why we're here, please.
Would we be able to ask everybody, or would you ask everybody here that's in the audience, anything that they have, any concern that they have written down that they want to ask that's specific, to bring those up? If maybe modify how we're doing this, because it seems like we're not advancing any
100%. This
breakneck
takes-
speed. So,
Like I said, this takes forever to go through.
and just a suggestion, I happen to have had the luxury to read it
Correct.
front to back, like you guys.
So I don't know any other way of town meeting that if we're gonna do this at town meeting, this is what we talked about at town meeting, which is,
I think, yeah, I'm
I
just,
see Mark's face and he's about to cry.
if there's a way, if everybody's.
My wife don't like that.
If there's a way, anybody that has whatever their concerns are, we bring those, forth now to go over, instead of going word for word, all of it. Or not word for word, but how we're doing it, maybe just to
Or
speed
just,
up.
sorry to interrupt, like I've seen it done, like section 1, any questions? Okay, section 2, any questions?
That's how we've done budget before, I think, too.
We only have 3 people in the audience, and very few on, I can't see the exact number on.
So-
So, and this is what I'm saying, at town meeting, we can't let, 2 people hijack the whole thing.
Right.
Bring your problems, not as far as process, but what the content is with the ZBA. What are your issues with the ZBA?
you're saying
Process is a
as opposed-
non-negotiable, it's done.
Go through a couple, 2 pages, go through our executive summary, go through our quick summary, and then just go straight to,
I think anybody that has a particular issue, I jotted down a couple things that I've wanted to ask and get some clarity from, your board, having gone over this,
and our
For
struggle,
months and
and
months.
our thought was, how do we at town meeting, someone that's coming in cold, and we're not giving them the whole bylaw, how else do they know?
I've seen bylaws pass at town meeting where nobody had a copy or.
We pass every budget at town, we pass a budget with no questions.
I would just do like Mark
Chair?
said, just say section 1, any questions, specifically questions about the section, not like,
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned with, people wanting to hijack a meeting over something that isn't even on, we're not discussing process, we're not discussing any of that right
Procedure,
now.
we're not discussing
It should not
what
be even
the
on the
document
table.
is.
It's
And I struggle letting members of the public share their piece like they should be able to in an
Sure.
open forum, and where that line is, I don't necessarily know where to.
So we open it, this agenda is to go over the content of this, not process, how we got to where we're at, none of that. This is about the brass tacks of this. Bring the issues, and I think it's gonna save us a lot of time, we're gonna get right to what's concerning people, and then we can move forward.
We have many more sections to go through, you wanna stop this process now and go right to.
It's up to everybody here,
Mr. Chair?
that's my
Everyone's
recommendation.
level of comfort.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I would just make a suggestion that if you want to go section by section, because I personally, and anybody who wanted to, has the opportunity to look at every one of these online. And I've taken the time to do it, and I have a few questions myself, but I would be able to do it section by section. So when you get to that section, I would be able to say, excuse me, I have a question about this particular thing in this section. I don't need somebody to read it to me so that I know what it is. I've spent the time to read it myself.
So same thing that we're doing, just forget scrolling through the text, let's go section 1.
And just,
Make
That's
the
fine.
line for section 1, talk
I think
about all the
that
questions for
works.
section 1, move on. Section 2, reline up for section 2. And I can't control what
And
the
again,
moderator
I'm not
ultimately is gonna
trying
have
to
to
take
control that.
anybody's rights or their ability to ask questions away. I'm just saying that those in the population who want to know what's in it are going to read it. And those who are just going to casually say, okay, we trust these people, they've spent all these hours and years and weeks on these things, so they know what we're doing. And most of the things that you're talking about are just to get in line with what the state is calling for. It's not like we're trying to reinvent the wheel.
So forgive the term of us being gun shy, but we thought, we were trying to think, what is the most open, what is the most thorough, how can we,
And that's commendable.
we're really trying, we've heard a lot of
Trying to
feedback.
do the
And
right thing.
feedback's pretty consistent, we don't know what you're doing. How do we tell everyone what we're doing?
You're trying to do the right thing. In all fairness to everybody, if we do, like Mr. Marsan and Mr. Gould had said, I'm perfectly amenable to that. Section 1, this is the title of this section, or, section by section, this is the title of this section. Anybody have any questions? No? Next section. Anybody have any questions there? We're not, the agenda item tonight is to go over the content of this document, not the process, not procedure or any of that.
And I would add to that, any discussion that we're holding on any section, section 4, 4.3, 4.3-1, that should be on the screen so people can see it. So when a question is asked, it should be on the screen, it should be.
That's
Absolutely.
That's
So
easy to
people
do.
understand, but you don't have to go through the whole thing. Just one section speak.
All you're doing is making it easier for us, so I'm not arguing.
That's what we're trying to do.
No, and I'm not trying to make it an easy process. You people have already done the hard work.
And
The
understand,
hard
we'll
work
sit
has
here,
been done.
understand for us, we'll sit here for the next 3 hours and go through this line by line, because that's what you're used to doing. And that's what
And-
we've done many
and
times.
We appreciate that, but we also understand that when we get to town meeting, we won't be able to do this, so we should come up with a process that we could go through town meeting at, where people feel like they have a voice, and their questions have been answered if they have a particular question.
I am perfectly fine with it. If any members of the planning board have any other opinions, gladly take them right now. If not, my suggestion would be to move on, pull up Paul's chart of the comparison zoning bylaw changes, which lists all the changes without going through. Tim?
One additional thing, sorry. I know you mentioned the handouts you're gonna have available at town meeting, which I think are great. I don't think it makes sense to print a boatload of 107 pages, whatever. But maybe a QR code people can click on if they wanna scroll through it while at the meeting. Right, so they can look at it on their handheld device.
That's beyond me, but I'm being told it's easy.
That's easy, sounds great.
Do we have a QR code department?
I can do that in about 5 seconds.
So,
Really?
Mr. Chair, that's awesome.
Mr. Chair, both of you.
Which one?
I wanted to point out, and we haven't seen this yet, but it was in our packets for our last meeting. The planning director put together a really nice summary of all of the changes. It was
We do have a PowerPoint summary.
And this covers it all, instead of going through the 170-page detail, it's all covered in this deck of slides, so I don't know what your plans were, whether, I mean, one thing you could do is present the slides.
I make a motion that we use that.
And you can always ask the town meeting after you go through this,
That is inclusive, yeah.
does the town want to go through the detailed zoning bylaws and have the town decide, and if they say, no, we're good, it's all right here, it's like, it's perfectly well done.
And
You know, every aspect of it.
Just one more thing, you folks people have no idea the work that you people have put into this document, trying to get this right. And I understand there'll be questions, and I understand there'll be things that might be missed, but those are all things that can be changed at another meeting. It doesn't mean that we should just throw out everything because, oh, wait a minute, there's a period missing here. So, we don't need to get into all of the minutia of what this is about. You've spent at least a year and a half that I know of working on this.
Feels like longer.
I just want to say that I appreciate what you're doing, and I think that if we are able to get this through town meeting and give people a synopsis of what you're trying to do, instead of trying to, question every little detail of every line of, we'll never get through town meeting.
I didn't want to hear comment after comment at town meeting either of, well, why aren't we going through everything that you're at?
Well, I
Is that
can
something
get
we-
up and speak to that if they,
Yeah, we
if they
can.
ask that.
This is what the process is, this is how we're doing it, this is how it's working.
Mr.
We
Chair, if
do
I-
have to be, I'm sorry, Kevin, we do have to be respectful of time, obviously.
No,
too.
absolutely,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask the board here, was there a reason why you just didn't lead with this deck of slides?
I thought, and it was probably on me, with having you guys here, that having the whole text, going through the whole text, is kind of common for us. We scroll through the whole thing. It takes a little time. We talk about each section. I thought that was the most judicious thing to do, and the best thing for public appearance, public comment, for your guys' edification, if going through the whole thing. If it's not needed, trust me, I'm fine with it.
So I can tell you when I knew that this meeting was coming, I spent the time and I went through all of the text and I came up with some questions in some articles that I was gonna ask about, but I didn't need somebody to read it to me again because I spent all weekend going through it.
Well, you're one of two people, maybe, that didn't.
Me too.
Three people. Not 4 people, you know? 5 people.
You can tell you've been shy.
But everybody in town has the opportunity to look at whatever they think is going to affect them personally, and if they find something in there that they think is going to affect them, I would understand them wanting to stand up and talk about it. But I don't think they're going to talk about whether should we include hens with chickens, should we make roosters in with poultry. I don't think
We're
that's
gonna
what we're
invite
going
you
to
to the
talk
rooster
about.
meeting next spring. Sometime this winter or spring, we'll have the rooster meeting. Rob, you have a question? And then
What I
Tim.
want to bring up is the public, and this is the catch-22 that we're against, and I agree completely with what you guys are saying. This is the way we should do it, the sunrise version. We do have a contingent out there, though, that seems to feel that, well, until I've been gone through with the whole thing, you guys haven't given me transparency, and yet, to go through the whole thing, including we put out saying you're free to read it, well, they'll say that is too much trouble too, because it takes them too long to absorb all the information. But they feel like we haven't been transparent until they absorb all the information that we actually have given them.
I think it would be very unfair if anyone characterized you guys as not being transparent. We've been talking about this for a very long
I will
time.
give you a list later.
You guys have had many meetings,
Yes,
probably hardly any attendance.
I even took a meeting
It's been
online
posted
today.
on the website for a very long time. I think it'd be hard for me to
Yeah.
s- see the justification to say that there was no notice
So
of.
if I can be allowed to finish my point, I do not agree with these people. I agree with what you're saying, what all you guys are saying. The problem is, they sit there and they go, well, until I've had a chance to absorb the whole thing, I'm voting no. And
There's
we're sort of stuck there.
personal initiative there too that needs to come into play. And if they're not gonna take the personal initiative, when I was brought up, if you wanna learn something about, a topic, take the initiative and learn it. You don't have to be spoon-fed
I could not agree more. They are wrong when they're doing that, but I am telling you, that is what we're up against. The fact was, it really was available last time we, we got beat up for being, not being transparent enough. It was out there for those that wanted it. So that's the
We're
thing.
gonna lose.
I think we
We're
focus
gonna
on the
lose the
good
town
points that
meeting.
this brings.
We're gonna lose the town meeting if we don't condense this.
I agree
People are
with
going
that,
to,
too.
after an hour or two, going to say, okay, I've had enough of this,
And this is the
and they're gonna
catch.
be gone. So, and that's the game plan that some people are gonna play. They're gonna play that card and say, if I stagger this long enough, people are gonna get frustrated, they're gonna go home. And that's not what we want. We want this thing to go through, as Kevin indicated on it, handle. I read that, and that was perfectly clear to me. I did do some reading, I do have a couple of questions, but, I mean, this is the document, this is the way it is, and if there's changes to be made later on, we'll change it later.
And I'm in agreement with you, I've raised this as a catch-22. I do not agree with folks that are doing this, but this is where we're stuck. They want us to do something that they actually don't want us to do, or they won't vote for. Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Tim's been trying to chime in for a second.
Okay, I
Tim,
was gonna say, I'm in favor of moving forward with this, and then we can talk it over with the moderator as our plan of attack. I will also quote the axiom, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, so we will see how
That's
town
kind of
meeting
what I'm trying to
goes.
say.
Are we planning to do a Norton alert for town meeting? The email or the,
I was gonna say it'd be a great idea.
put the link to it and say, among the items on the warrant is the bylaw update. Please take the time to read this. This is 150 pages. If you want to read it, here's your chance. In nicer language than that. But, yeah.
I think we should do that.
All of that material is available.
Yes, but Town meeting, next week. Okay. Read out.
And I think we should do that, I'm just saying we should.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mossad.
Thank you.
I suggest we don't change the protocol. I think that the idea that you have to have the planning board on stage so that they don't have to wait in line to answer questions is a great idea. And I think if I have a suggestion for you at all, I would suggest that each of you maybe take a section that you're really comfortable with and you be the answer person for those sections so that we don't have the same person all the time. If people see that the whole planning board is on board with this, and then if there are some issues that come up, I believe that the select board, I'm speaking for myself, but would be willing to stand up and speak to some of these issues as well. And try
I'm
to
fine
get
with
to
that moving forward. We kind of work like we did tonight. We take the question and we address it. Who's ever got it right in their mind real quick. I might be looking at something else. The last question, the next one, and Steve's got this right in front of him. Right? That's why I wanted all of us, just like this, and the building commissioner and Paul. It is going to make it quicker. So it should.
And I believe your consultant, Mark Bobrowski, as well, crafted most of this is going to be there, correct?
He's going to, hopefully if he's there, just like last town meeting, I would have him do that presentation and take us through one by one. He's going to give the behind the scenes of the state law, and that pertinent
You
information.
can deliver the summary.
Yes, that was our.
I think you guys have been on the shell shock side of all of this. If we went to town meeting and we discussed every single item in the budget, we have a line item, that's all we see, we're not seeing the breakdown. Imagine going to town meeting and having to go with the line item and then spending the next 10 minutes saying, well, the dog officer gets this for payroll, this is for supplies, and this is for blah, blah, blah. We'd be there for 3 days. You don't have to do it this way. I think the summary will cover it. I think Dombrowski being there is going to be a big factor. And I think we just throw it out there and say, here it is. And I don't think you're going to have as big a problem because you're trying to get the information out through QR codes, and through websites, and through everything else. And the best way to do it.
Bob Briscoe, free
Right,
ride.
to go
Sorry,
through-
you gotta wait for the chair. I'm sorry.
While you're standing there, you've heard us, Mr. Briscoe. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Bob Briscoe, 3 Brenda Road. I've listened to all you people, and I have to agree that you guys have done a great job and put a lot of effort and work into this. I wouldn't recommend putting out an alert on this. The people that have questions are going to ask the questions, and by putting an alert out, you're really telling them, geez, you better go over and look at this, right? So I'm just saying, hey, do your presentation, address when it comes in, just like you guys talked about, and work through it. And I think it'll work out well. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Good job.
My opinion right now, going forward, the rest of this meeting, if you want to get out of here before 11 o'clock tonight, we start right now where we left off, section 4, dimensional regulations. We can use the document we have on the screen. It shows the changes. We can go through those changes quick. Whoever has, just as you were saying, whoever has comments, we take them right now and then try to get through this quicker. Let's go to that. Everybody good?
Good.
So, section 4, dimensional regulations. That's where we left off, Paul?
Yeah, and I just went over the 2 major changes being allowing multiple buildings on top of the shop within the commercial districts, and then the 10,000 square foot with 75 feet of frontage.
So section 4, any questions, comments, concerns, discussion, changes? If not, we'll move it on to section 5, non-conforming uses and structures.
Yeah, in this section, this is largely zoning board of appeals territory, but what we did was we moved a couple of sections together, merged them here. One of the substantive changes was the one that we increased the expansion of non-conforming single-family or two-family homes from 25 to 50%. And then it also allows the ZBA to reestablish a non-conforming use or structure that's been abandoned if it's determined it's not detrimental to the neighborhood.
Section 5, questions, comments, concerns? If not,
Mr. Chair, one question on section 5 real quickly. Could you just explain why we gave more power to the Historic District Commission?
I can,
go ahead, Ted.
I don't think we really gave them more power. We really just clarified for applicants that if you are applying for do a project in the historic district, you need to make sure you're filing with them and that the filings can be concurrent with the planning board so that we can have a joint session if we need to. It's basically giving them a little bit more direction of, if you're applying here, make sure you cover your bases here. Because we had some discussions about applicants who didn't know they needed to deal with the Historic District Commission, and that caused some challenges for them in their process.
This is town charter driven. I mean, it's called out in the town charter.
Yeah, but it's from it's not giving them any more power than they already have, it's just making sure the applicants know that they have it.
Thank you.
Awareness, yeah.
If we're good with section 5, section 6, general regulations.
So this is a section where we actually merged a lot of other current sections into this, like signs and parking and loading requirements. So that's a pretty significant grouping. But we made a couple of substantive changes here, like adding the noise standards, which follow the Mass General Law, and also site development standards. And then it's also allows the planning board to grant a special permit to vary the different standards in this section. So that's important too, because if the board doesn't have the ability to grant those waivers, then it has to go to the ZBA. So this is now giving an applicant a clearer process than what we currently have. And there are some circumstances where the ZBA doesn't even have the right, so, and then the board doesn't have the ability to grant a waiver. So this is granting some flexibility.
Thank you.
Section 6, anybody? Moving on, section 7.
Yeah, this is special regulations. And so this also merged a number of existing articles such as earth materials and large-scale ground-mounted solar, putting them again in an organized fashion. One of the substantive changes was adding standards for siting of adult entertainment establishments and reducing the locational requirements for adult uses from 1,000 feet to 500 feet from all non-industrial zoning to comply with case law. Mark Bobrovsky told us that this could be a violation of federal law. Our provision was so restrictive, I think only 1 or 2 parcels? One parcel?
One, Steve?
I think it was
Only one complete parcel.
Yeah, 1 parcel under our current provisions would allow for an adult entertainment use, but even if we go to 500 feet, I think it gets to
About a dozen.
And they're all mostly
All
on like
those
Commerce Way and, yeah.
Right, it has to be an industrial anyway, so, but it didn't open it up.
The framing on that was the ability to have an adult use is a free speech issue. So if you have a bylaw that basically prohibits that use, then you're prohibiting that speech. I know we had that, yeah. And as we go through this, do you have the other sections after, or should any comments on special regulations be now?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
7.1.1, who decides if something adversely impacts adjacent properties? Who makes that determination?
It's a good question.
Is that under a special permit, or is that?
That's 7.1.1, the purpose, earth materials under special regulations.
So here's one that would be beneficial to bring it up.
So we have there's a special permit tied to earth removal, correct?
Right,
Yes.
So it would be the planning board under our permit conditions for earth removal permits. Correct?
right. So this is for the special permit. The special permit granting authority in this case is the planning board. So that is a criterion that the planning board would have to use to determine when there's a proposal for earth removal.
But I'm just saying that sounds like very arbitrary, that it adversely impacts somebody.
I think the idea would be if you take a bunch of land away and you're changing the drainage or you're changing something else, that's what we would look at in some cases.
Would you have to be able to specify what the impact is?
Yeah.
Like, you can't just say like.
And the,
I think that should
and the special permit conditions, are those the same for earth removal special permit, Paul? Or are they different? Are they further down in the page?
It's not up on the screen.
Yeah, let me get to that.
Paul was trying to pull it up.
Well, he does
Oh,
have
I'm not sharing, okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
would civil engineer, the consulting engineer and the presenting engineer have a weighted say in that, I would presume?
I mean, they would be presenting us with the special permit, they would be applying for the special permit. It's ultimately Mr. Bailey, correct me if I'm wrong, you would be directing them if they would need to apply for an earth removal special permit, if they were excavating and moving so much square foot of material.
That's how this reads,
That's
yes.
how this reads.
Thank you.
I believe at the Maytown meeting, this was one of the areas of contention. It might have been Mr. Pagliano, but it was earth removal, storage of earth on adjacent property. And I don't recall the details. Does anybody else remember that being brought up?
I don't-
Reasons
I
why
do
we
not
had a
recall.
lot of no voters.
We did collect all of the comments from town meeting and included them, I think, in our first discussion about this bylaw update following town meeting. That was Rob taking all these notes.
I don't remember that one being there. I did the doc like 6 months ago, so. Valuable.
So there, 7.1.6 does identify a number of standards that have to be met in order for the board to approve a special permit for that.
Mr. Chair, somebody.
If you have something specific to earth removal, if not, let's wait till after section 7.
I was just gonna bring something up that pertains, I think, to something asking questions about this. And on Newwood Street, they were storing material, bringing material in, mixing material, taking material out, trucks go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think there was a lot of concern about that. I think at the last town meeting, that's what was brought up.
So any project with over a certain amount of material that's leaving or being affected, that's what would trigger a special permit. That's what the building inspector would direct to us. That would give us the opportunity to either approve or deny. But listing, as it's on the screen now, we can do hours, routes, roads used. It gives us a whole, some of it's existing now.
I'm not questioning what you guys are doing, I'm just questioning that came up. And it's true, I mean, most of you folks know about it. So, that, I think, was brought up.
I think one of the things we discussed also is that earth removal or soils or materials being brought into a construction site does not qualify as earth removal project. An earth removal project would be like a mining operation or something like that. Is that correct?
Or if there was a large project that required lots of material to be removed from the site.
Material
Not
that's
just
not gonna be,
affected.
that's not gonna be replaced.
It's not being used at the site, they have to move it off-site. What's the trigger now, 500 here?
I think the number that in 8.5 years in the planning board, I can count them on one hand.
We had one this year.
Thank you for your answer.
In the particular case of Newwood Street, what's happening there is the product is being brought in, recycled, and brought out. So there's a different version of what you're talking about, where stuff is coming in and going out too.
It's an industrial process.
And the town had no say in it, it was on them for the EPA. So, something we'll get in the future.
Chair, just go back to Mr. Marsden's question too. I think another answer to your question about that provision, in section 10.5.2, it identifies all the criteria that any of the special permit granting authorities must consider when issuing a special permit. So again, in most cases, it's pretty much all the cases, it's the planning board, but they need to look at the social, economic, and community needs, traffic flow, neighborhood character, impacts on the natural environment, and impacts on adjacent property. So these are the standard factors that we look at for any project that comes in for a special permit. And so the applicant will know this, and they need to address this in order to, ensure approval.
Thank you.
Any other questions, section 7, special regulations?
I think just something I'll point out, if for special regulations, this now includes our affordable housing bylaw, along with a number of other ones.
That's section 8, the special residential regs.
So that's special residential, so I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll wait, never mind.
Section 7, everyone good? Questions, comments, concerns?
Just
Mr. Gould,
a
yes, sir.
comment. So as I read through this, I did initially have a concern about the acreage threshold for installing solar. But as I looked at it more closely, correct me if I'm wrong, residents are never barred from installing solar on their own homes to satisfy their own electric needs.
Correct. Solar is one of those state, one of these uses that the state says basically it's hands off. And we have to, it's almost like a Dover use at this point.
We actively made 0 changes to anything solar related. I may be stupid, but I'm not that stupid.
Excellent. Just to clarify that. Thank you.
Section 8, special residential regulations.
Yes, we grouped a number of articles, like our affordable housing and some of our dimensional regulations for cluster development. So the major changes included adding that section for senior housing facility, which again, I want to make sure, because I misstated it earlier. Senior housing facility are those housing for the seniors, but they need medical care. So that section is under section 8. We're also adding, this is where we're adding the accessory dwelling units. We already allow ADUs by right, by the way, but we currently allow only attached units, but the state said you needed to make them detached. And there's a few other changes that we needed to do, such as ownership requirements. We currently say that an owner needs to occupy one of the 2 units. The state says we can't do that. There's some parking changes that were also added. The state, of course, was just trying to promote the uses, residential uses, so they're making the standards more permissive. And then we've made some changes again to this provision that says currently, if you have 6 or more lots, you trigger the need to do affordable units. And Mark Bobrowski told us there were legal problems with that. One of the benefits, though, of us not having that in there is under the affordable housing bylaw, it does say that you can get a density bonus of 3 times if you provide 30% of the affordable units. But by taking out this provision for 6 or more lots, that knocked out a couple of our residential, it knocked out R60 and R80. So they're not going to be that, they won't be eligible, properties under R60 and R80 won't be eligible for a density bonus. Which I think in Norton, again, that's a protection.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Bob.
the issue I have with that is a few years ago, we adopted this bylaw because we wanted to stay even with the affordable housing issue. So when we required a developer who was going to build 6 units, one had to be affordable. The reason behind that would 10% of it would be considered affordable. It would maintain our affordable level. If we dissolve this and make it go away, we're right around 10% now, above 10%. It's not going to take long for us to drop down to 9.9%, and then we're going to be inundated again with 40B plans in affordable housing. So how do we protect ourselves from that happening? If we're taking that requirement away, and I'm not sure, I guess it's not legal,
That's what Bobrowski said, it's just not legal.
so how do we make something like that legal, where we require that so we don't have to worry about large development? I was thinking the other day, I live on Pine Street. There's $1 million homes that are going up down the street from me. I can't imagine what an affordable housing would look like if they had to put one of those in that $1 million neighborhood. And I kind of get that, but I'm concerned about it. And I think it's something we need to address after this meeting. We need to go back and take another look at this and figure there's a way that we can continue to keep our stock level without having an impact on that, because it isn't gonna take long for this thing to go someplace.
Right, we will be losing our safe harbor in no time if we start letting all the building going in without having any affordable.
And that's only for the division of land.
This is only for subdivisions. It would still apply to apartments.
Any apartment with 6 or more units triggers the 10%. And in the MBTA zoning, if it's 10 or more units, that triggers 10%. So we still have some safeguards in there for it.
As far as you're concerned, going forward, just be careful with cluster developments.
I would suggest the same to you.
Can I make a
So,
point?
Mr. Chair, on this item, section, you should really promote the ADU by right for detached buildings. I really think throughout the state, this is gonna be part of the solution to our affordable housing issue. So looking for things to promote and sell with these changes. I know it's a state law, but we have to adopt it.
It's a state law that we're adopting, but we've also added to it. And I believe that is covered in the PowerPoint. We do have a slide in there, Paul, in the PowerPoint.
It's definitely a high priority.
Yeah. Tim?
I'll just say, I think we will probably get at least one comment at town meeting that these bylaws have been created over 50 years, why are we trying to change them? Paul, if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask you to switch screens and pull up the original version of 175-19.3, which is the applicability of affordable housing, which we were just talking about. Section B under that, this was an item that was part of a recent appeal that we dealt with, and town council weighed in on the wording. I challenge anybody to read 175-19.3B and tell me exactly what it's referring to and whether it applies to a new development today. This bylaw shall apply to the construction of blah 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 dwelling units, whether one or more contiguous parcels in existence as of this date and require a special permit. Does that mean that the parcel needed to exist in 2003? Our bylaws are not the Mona Lisa. This is a clear point of, this is why we changed this. Problems like this throughout the bylaw. It's my whipping boy.
Been waiting all night for that.
Yes, because it's the clearest example where anybody could look at this and go, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And they do argue it.
And they do argue it, yes, and we have been called on it legally.
And we have to bring in town council to say, no, it actually means, it doesn't mean that specific date and that's it.
So that's my one comment on that one.
I think that brings us to the end of section 8. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Section 8, special residential regulations. If not, section 9, special and overlay districts.
So again, this one merged a lot of districts, their overlay districts, special districts such as wetland protection, floodplain. Also, the multifamily mixed-use overlay district is now, they're all in section 9. I think the only major substantive change in this section is turning the design guidelines into enforceable standards in the village commercial zoning district. It mirrored what we did a few years ago with Village Center Core, and we think this is a really positive change, that these are not onerous standards, but this will result in better development in village commercial. And if there are a situation where something can't be met, the board has the ability to grant the waiver. But again, ultimately, one of the things, I think the benefits of this bylaw change was we can now get better development projects out of it. So in this case, the village commercial, for example, we can now say, no, the parking needs to go in the back. We don't want it in the front of the building.
More teeth.
It's teeth because guidelines are not enforceable. So
Mr.
the board,
Chair?
Yes, Mr. Mussi.
Just a question, 9.5.1 buildings. Why did you change everything from from should to shall?
Well, that was about an hour conversation.
I mean, it just seems like you're boxing yourself in, you're not giving yourself any room to maneuver.
Should, shall, we went over this, I don't even know how many times. It's
We had the ability to grant the waiver.
I understand, but if you left it at should, my only thought would be it gives you some room to maneuver so that if you wanted to change something, you could, but otherwise it's very strict saying you shall do this, so you don't have any options but to do that.
I think that was our point, that's what we wanted, with the caveat that we can grant a waiver.
Shall, see, allows variance.
board retains leverage on it, whereas if it's a should, it's not something that the board could enforce. But again, they have the tool to waive the standard.
That's my own question on that.
Should use this an arbitrary decision or shall because it's something specific that we enforce the word.
Shall is non-negotiable.
Correct. I think we had multiple dictionaries out there.
I'm sorry, but you said by changing all of those to shall, you also have the ability to grant a waiver for any one of those items, right?
Because it should meant that they could maybe say, no, we don't care if you get a waiver or not. You know.
Are you pulling it up, Paul?
Sorry?
I'm sorry, were you pulling that up?
No, you don't have to pull it in.
Back to the chart.
Moving like the definitions pulled up of shall and should.
Have the definition is, please.
Number 10.
Section 10.
We don't want to break our record and spend on that.
That number to section 10 is administration and enforcement. That is this gentleman's role here. So again, we merged a couple of different sections for the Board of Appeals and then administration and enforcement. This is the section where we identify the process for the Dover Amendment uses. And just to clarify this, for uses such as churches and schools, the state says that you cannot require a special permit for them. Historically, in this town, we have just said, okay, just issue a building permit. But this process, thanks to the help of Mark Bobrovsky, we're now going to require a site plan. A site plan is pretty much an approval, but at least it gives the board the ability to negotiate on these, on a use that they would not have, that they haven't currently been able to see.
We've had some Dover uses come before us, just like come and give us like for your information presentations, and we've given some suggestions, and they can take them or not. But
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
This is just a quick question. This is not a change in here at all. I'm just a curiosity question. Special permit granting authority. Who decides what the authority is?
In the charter, it's called, in the bylaw, it's called out. Some very few uses are ZBA now, correct? Or we kick the ZBA, one or two things they're the special permit granting authority is. Currently, the planning board is designated as the only special permit granting authority.
Thank you.
I'll also point out, before we go any further on this, this is one of the really in my opinion, one of the good things for homeowners. It says a minor change to increase from 100 to 200 square foot size threshold. If you want to build a shed right now, you have to pull a permit. If it's over 100 square feet, we're bumping that to 200. Small, but something substantial.
I can tell you that I'm happy to hear that.
And the 200 feet is, the 100 feet is actually at odds with the building code, because the minimum
Correct.
is 200, so it's more a zoning checkup.
And also, Mr. Chair, the two changes that you made in here about the Historic District Commission, and that's by state law as well, right?
Correct, we just try to be consistent after we called them out in the previous section as we discussed. We tried to carry it through everywhere where it could be, had to carry it through everywhere where they would be affected, so it had to go in the enforcement section.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a question. Has any consideration been given to the possibility of a pre-review before a business invests significant funds to apply for an actual permit? Maybe to get a,
We do an administrative review in-house. Currently, Paul, you want to discuss that since you do it?
Well, right, we always, that's something we really encourage any applicant to do, is to meet with staff to go through it before the planning board sees it, to address any issues that the fire department or building has, or planning. There's also, have been times in the past, it's not codified, but projects will come into the board and present informally to try to get a sense of a project coming in to see, it's not in the bylaw, it's not something we've put in here.
I can remember a few instances where we've had a temperature taken of the board.
but you wouldn't turn someone away if they wanted to come to you.
No,
I think Paul's usually their first stop, and then if Paul feels like, maybe you just take a temperature check, then they show up for an agenda item.
I would add, past experience has been that a lot of times the applicant will go to the planning board, the building inspector, commissioner, perhaps the board of health. And they come out with a sense that, oh yeah, we're all set. And I've had people come up to me and say, well, they said we could do it. Well, no, that's not, you were feeling them out. So I think that's important to stress that anytime that happens, we should be making it clear that there is a process. I'm not the final say, and you have to go through the process. Don't let them walk away thinking that they got something going.
I think what you're definitely referring to is more residential and very small commercial. Any bigger project, anything with an engineer, with a lawyer involved, is going to take it through every water and sewer commission, building commission, fire, police. They're going to already have at least showed them the plans and taken feedback if they have any brains at all. Yes, they would have done that before they even applied.
I would just suggest that maybe the Historic District Commission move up on that list a little bit instead of being the last place that people go to.
That's why we emphasized it so much earlier.
Correct.
And we've actually updated our online permitting on all of our applications to say if you're within the historic district, you need to apply for a certificate of appropriateness, just to apply for it. But that we're treating them like we treat other boards, conservation and so forth. And in fact, we always write conditions to say that this doesn't go into effect until all your local, state, and federal approvals have been granted.
I just feel that there are some developers who think that if they get all the other boards, that the Historic District Commission is like the last hurdle they got to get through, and sometimes that's the thing that's going to stop them.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
is there a time of performance that could be added to that for that commission?
I'm sorry, but say
Could there be a time of performance for, if they have to submit or deny to submit within 30 days?
They can't hold them up for.
There is a policy, they are required to, by certified mail, to get notified the applicant. Once the applicant is notified, they have a 14-day period where they can interview the person and come up with a solution. They have to have, within a certain amount of days, they have to have a public hearing, and then they have to have approval. And I think the whole thing is only like 60 days. So there is a cap on it. But the key here is, and we're talking about a particular case in Norton right now, is the application was never made. Now we're backtracking and trying to fix it. And I think that's a process that's working, but there are guidelines, there are time standards they have to follow. Once the application is received,
Where is that? In their,
it's the
in their guidelines?
it's state law, it's their bylaw.
Oh, okay. Should it be in here, so the applicants even know
At least the reference to the state law.
something? Yeah.
Something so people know that
I'm sure that's something that-
they should go there possibly first, so that they know if it's
It's
even
kind of like,
possible.
we have this conversation all the time, chicken or the egg, do you apply to us first? Do you apply to conservation first? Do you apply to, it's really up to the applicant where they go first. You could have a big project, put it in front of conservation, close that meeting, then come to us. Really, the best thing to do is to have all the boards open at the same time, is what we kind of direct. If the conservation commission's hearing the same project as we're hearing, a lot of times they share the same peer reviewer. The peer reviewer is working for both boards. That's generally how we see projects. Everything at the same time is generally best in my opinion. That's what we see. Because we do make changes, they have to change the plans. If we ask them, well, where's your
Snow storage.
snow storage area, that's 99% of the time already covered by conservation elements. So if we were to close and approve a special permit and we had no snow storage areas, they would have to come back to us, reopen with a modification to a plan. Long and the short of it is, I think we're covered. And adding it to OpenGov, they have to check that box before it goes too far.
Okay, thank you. Umbrella?
Just a couple of things in definitions if we get to there.
Definitions, I don't think we need to go through all of them, but these highlighted ones are the ones we've added, obviously. And you want to go straight to questions, I'm fine with that.
I just have just a couple of questions on, just down to recreational vehicles. I know that we spoke about recreational vehicles and temporary earlier. So if you have a recreational vehicle that's there less than 30 days, you don't have to apply for a permit?
It's not there, it's if you're living in it. You can keep
If
it.
someone's living in it, right, you don't have to apply for a permit. If say you have a visitor come for a month, you don't have to get a permit from the planning.
That's what we agreed on, that 30 days would be a good setting. If you're gonna stay for more than 30 days, then you gotta do the permit. I would assume it's like, if it's occupied continuously, I suppose there could be a loophole where if you were out of it for 5 days and then went there for another 30 days, but.
I think that's a great idea. Only several issues that you're gonna have to deal with if you're living in a recreational vehicle for 30 days in one spot.
I think the idea was cousin Eddie could visit for Christmas, but then he's gotta go home.
Right.
But to stress the fact that this does allow people to have their recreational vehicle on their property. It does not-
100%.
Just not living in it.
Store it back.
We need to make that clear because
Right.
It
It's just living in it, not.
We discussed that extensively.
It is.
One other question,
Yes, sir.
on senior housing facilities. Are we just moving that from one location to another in the definitions?
You want to scroll down and see the housing bulk?
Just discussing the senior housing definition, I think that there is a new definition here, correct, for this? Because we were providing differentiation between 55 and over
There
and,
we go.
yeah.
So here's senior housing.
Well, I see senior housing facility down below is just crossed out, but up above it's in red, you just moved it up.
We moved it, correct.
Okay.
We realized that senior housing was separate from senior housing facility because of the health care aspects. So senior housing are people like us over 55, but we're living large and living independently. But for those folks that need assisted living and memory care, that's what falls under
No, I
senior
just saw it
housing.
crossed out and I saw it moved up, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you, I have no more questions about this whole document.
Only other thing I'm gonna point out to now, the existing bylaw, we would still have articles going up to 23, so we have condensed it significantly into 11 sections versus having to go through 23 to figure out what you're doing or need to do.
And just one more comment, Mr. Chair. Just thank you again for the work that you put into this. And I think that when you make this proposal at town meeting, and if you all have this same attitude moving forward, I think that we'll have a lot more success than we had in the spring.
With that being said, any questions, comments, concerns on the entire document, what we're gonna do at town meeting, where are we gonna go the rest of the night here, do we all wanna go home? Eventually, we have to vote on this right now, you guys can, select board could adjourn their meeting.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
This is for Alec.
Which one?
I make a motion that we adjourn the select board.
Yeah, point of order, I would take, have the board consider whether or not we're gonna support it. We're in session, we can take a vote to support it, or not support it.
Was that part of the agenda, is my question?
It was not, I checked it. We should certainly take that vote at our next meeting.
I suggest we take that over to that next meeting. I just don't think that was part of our agenda tonight.
I would like to ask, has the FinCom voted on it yet?
No.
No.
Can you do it tonight?
I think it'll be the same result. Even though Zach left.
And Mr. Chairman, I would add one more thing. If you have a unified planning board, unified majority on the boards, the important boards, select board, planning board, FinCom.
All boards are important, but.
I know that. But in this particular ordeal, we're the ones taking the actual vote on it. The ones that are voting on it. It's always in everyone's best interest, once we go to town meeting, if we're unified. That makes it a lot easier. So just throwing that out there for a what if, but yeah, I think every board should make the appointment. I'm disappointed that we can't take a vote now, but we'll wait until the next meeting and we'll take the vote.
So if there's no more discussion, there's a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Good night.
Thank you very much,
Very much.
everybody.
And the planning board will continue here,
I got something for you.
just making sure you turn off the camera.
Yeah, you guys are running, Mark can't, sorry.
Yeah, I'm running the Zoom, so.
No, we just have to vote, make sure we know the language and we're done.
Great job, guys.
Thank you for all your hard work. Paul, as far as you're concerned, we're ready to vote and submit this. So,
Right, and just be mindful against,
The one, do you want to go back and one change you printed out and gave everyone saw that, we just had the flip flop we talked about, that's the only thing on this.
right, and it was just a correction,
Yeah.
it wasn't,
It was a scrivener's error,
it was user error.
user error, a late night change error.
And then we had the one agricultural use that's been deleted. I'll note that in the clean version. And then again, town council still, they'll be giving comments. So to ask Mark, well, anyway, I think you're fine to go ahead and vote on this.
Do we need to close public hearing?
Chair would entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the, we have a motion to close the public hearing on the town meeting
Second.
zoning bylaw update, and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous in person? Chair is looking for a motion to submit the discussed language to town meeting.
I'll motion to submit the discussed language to town meeting pending minor comments from town council.
Second. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Any other business anyone wishes to discuss tonight? If not, there's a third motion the chair is looking for.
Motion to adjourn? Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Good night, everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.